Alrighty, we are back. I know we got a couple of topics on the docket for today. And we're a little bit more prepared than usual, I would say, here for this one.
It's just because I created a Slack channel because we have a one-on-one channel with us just talking about stuff. And I was like, we need a place to park the content that we come across
Agreed.
because otherwise it just kind of gets lost in other conversations, etc. So it's yeah. I mean, I use Slack all the time, so it's a good home for that. Yeah,
Well,
we can jump.
let's jump in. I feel like I got some good takes here. Not good takes here, but like some thoughts here for the topic that you put in Slack there. If you want to
Yeah, let me get that. Let me pull that off.
you want to cue that
So
up here.
yeah, let me see if I can do some screen sharing too. Um, yeah, I don't think. Yeah, let's just do some screen share here. All right, let me pull it up here. Screen.
Yeah, let's cue this up.
Window.
I just got a weird email there about like a podcast. People are waiting. I was like, wait, are people trying to join
Wait, what?
this link here? I don't know what that was.
How weird. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, but it was
Uh,
essentially like this I think I saw this one on Morning Brew here.
yeah,
But yeah,
that's
cue
where I
this one
saw
up
it
here.
too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
where I
yeah.
saw it too. So, it says Investopedia. Not sure if they're how credible they are, but we'll roll with this. So headline: People are holding off on spending until the election. Federal Reserve Beige Book said. I'm not sure who the Federal Reserve Beige Book is. So the concept here is that people are a little bit hesitant because of the presidential elections going on, that they're going to slow down their consumer spending and wait to make big financial decisions until after the election, according to this report. And they're saying consumers are spending less and the demands of loans has also fallen, and businesses are also hesitant to make decisions with waiting to hire and start new projects. That's something else I didn't actually see in the article right away. We can talk about that kind of separately, but let's jump into just kind of consumer buying behavior and our
It
thoughts here.
so scroll down a little bit. Before you do that, first off, brutal display images on the right-hand side here. So this is why we're a little hesitant to run display ads from time to time because they can come out a little bit not great. But what what was the actual piece of data that they called out in terms of consumer spending habits that changed in the last like couple weeks here?
I'm not sure what they call that.
Because consumers hold off on spending and making big financial decisions there. So Federal Reserve, like that's just, I mean, I don't, that's seems like a very opinionated statement. You know what I mean? Because then they go into then businesses are hesitant. But like what pieces of data are they referring to? Because I read the Morning Brew this morning and it read like consumers are hesitant to spend as of late because they're waiting on the presidential election results. But like that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, let me see if there's like any other. There's some freaking ads on this
This
thing.
is a great example of like not reading a headline. Like, dude, me and my buddies joke about this all the time of like, making a statement or something or sending an article because like you just saw like the headline on Twitter, but you like didn't actually read into it. But like there's nothing in here that speaks to
Surveys have
consumers hold
shown
off.
that
Like
half Americans
what's
believe
the data?
the next president will significantly affect their personal finances. Let me
So they're referring to a survey. Like, dude, what?
try to pull up the beige book here. It's a PDF. So maybe we should be actually looking at this thing. Jesus, I don't have the time. It's a 56. Was the beige book? Was the purpose? Wow. Okay, it's a giant PDF. I mean, maybe some of the data's in here, and they just did a crap story.
It gotta be.
Uh, Overall prices. It's like individual areas. Interesting. Labor
I mean,
market.
I want to hear your thoughts here, but I have some thoughts here as well.
Yeah, I mean, if we take it for what they're saying is possibly people holding off on spending, potentially, I think the election could be one thing, but there's a lot of other things going on too. right? As far as world uh, world events, we'll say, and even like the economic state of the United States as far as inflation, etc. But I have seen with some clients softer, especially October, softer numbers, just less.
Just in general,
But
like kind of looking at year over year stuff and,
yeah, year
coming
over
out of
year
summer.
trending. Yeah, even summer was a little soft
Yeah.
in some sectors of stuff. But also October had like Prime Day as well, the 8th and 9th of this month, which could affect things as well as kind of buying power gets shifted over to Amazon
Yeah.
during that time span. They racket up their ads, but also theoretically with the election, there's a lot of money being spent right now by political ads, theoretically driving up cost per clicks and just attention and inventory. That could make it more challenging from a paid perspective. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of different things in this soup of possibly with this, kind of what these headlines, people are holding off. I don't know if there are people holding off or are they distracted. I don't know. It, I
I think
see
the,
I see some data that I mean some qualitative data of
yes,
of it. Where I'm like, kind of race seems true.
I think anybody doing e-commerce right now and doing shopping ads understands it's obviously a tougher environment here, but I think it's more of like a macro trend over the past, year to 2 years. I think the thing that kind of annoyed me about the headline there in Morning Brew was like, hey, people aren't spending right now because like they're waiting for the presidential results. Th- that doesn't make any sense to me. Like I would understand you might wait on purchasing a home or a car based off of interest rates or like a larger purchase decision. I could see a case to be made. Hey, let's wait till the we get through election cycle, see what happens with interest rates moving forward here. I get that, but just reading it that like consumers are holding off, like, dude, nobody's not taking a trip right now or going to the grocery store or doing whatever and maybe like holding off on like a ruck pack being a good example. I don't think people are saying, hey, let's hold off on ruck pack purchases until we know if it's going to be Kamala or Trump here. I think it's like, hey, the country's at record level credit card debt. Last year it was record level people pulling from their 401ks. I 40-year record level inflation. Like I feel like we've just been in a situation where in America, prices have been through the roof, in groceries and gas and anything, and people are maxing out their credit cards. I feel like it's more of a situation where we've just been in a really tough spot overall, and it has nothing to do with the presidential election. I could see on the business side, no doubt about it, you're going to wait to see who wins because that's going to impact policy in certain areas. But in terms of consumers, it just felt like a cop out for Morning Brew to be like, yep, people are waiting for the presidential election. Like, I don't think that's true at all. I think it's much more of a macro trend.
So, I pulled up that PDF again. Those are all really valid points too, that we could definitely dig in. But I just searched the term like presidential just to see how many times it shows up, and like what context. So let me go to
56 times it
no,
appears.
no, 6 times out of a
Oh, okay, okay.
56-page document, right? So here's the first one. Nonetheless, context, and this is under the IT and software services section. It says, nonetheless, context saw risks to the overall business climate for uncertain surroundings around presidential elections, and one worried that inflation could surge again and hurt its profit margins. So this is more the IT industry, so not consumers. Let's go continue. Federal Reserve Bank of New York, summary of economic activity. Many contexts were hesitant in decision making due to heightened uncertainty around the presidential elections. So looking further ahead, businesses were now somewhat optimistic conditions would improve. That seems more business related, not actual purchasers. Labor markets. Okay, this is basically
Yeah,
saying hiring hesitant. Okay, so far all B2B right now. Consumer spending. All right, here we go.
which makes sense. I think
Yeah,
that's all valid.
yeah, it's all valid. So here's the consumer spending. Consumer spending declined moderately over in recent weeks. However, lower costs retailers and restaurants reports slight sales growth, suggesting increased price consciousness among consumers. Several automotive dealers reporting ongoing affordability challenges for many consumers, with no noticeable changes in sales, even as auto financing rates begin to decline. Well, cars are fucking expensive these days.
Through the roof, and they've been.
Yeah. Context generally expected moderate consumer spending growth in the coming months, particularly after the November presidential elections. But that's not really fair because
That's not fair at
it's
all.
Black
That's
Friday, Cyber
nonsense.
Monday, etc. timing. Okay, so that's kind of nonsense a bit. So here's another one for manufacturing. Some context were fewer orders from other producers because of lower consumer commercial vehicle productions. While several also noted that some producers were holding off on orders because of uncertainty related to the coming presidential election. Once again, kind of like that's more supply chain for manufacturing. And then the labor markets again. So I don't know. I don't see that like huge thing of like presidential elections. Maybe they just kind of mashed up and made their own take on it.
That's what didn't sit well with me reading that was like this. It just seemed like such an opinionated statement to make. Consumer, it's been slower because like people are waiting for the election results. Dude, like I would say there's a pocket of the country that's dialed into presidential results, but there's so many normal middle Americans out there who aren't paying attention at all and are just like, wow, things are way more expensive. We're just not spending as much as we once were. It's just
That's a good
you
point,
can't
man.
afford it. You need a second job to do anything, like I think that was kind of what sat wrong with me was kind of Morning Brew was
So we had to go 3 layers deep to get the answer,
yeah,
right? So Morning Brew reported off Investopedia, and Investopedia reported off the actual PDF. When we actually look at the third level of information, we find that it's not really telling that story of the presidential election. It's mostly B2B related items or large purchases, which I can see. So
which
what's
makes sense.
affecting?
Yeah.
So if we are seeing some e-commerce brands kind of slowing down a little bit during this time period, we can't just blame it on the presidential election. There could be some influences from a presidential election, like ad spend, cost per clicks, attention span, potentially impacting it. But it's not specifically they're waiting to purchase
Not at all.
because. So, okay, I'm at a happy place with that.
And and one other note there too is I think it was in this week's Morning Brew as well. They stated there was some like I forget what it was, analysis or whatever, but essentially like the United States has the strongest economy compared to, the G7 and like the rest of the world. And they specifically called out a very strong consumer spending base. So they made the case earlier this week. The US economy is really strong because consumers spend. But now come Friday, nobody's spending because they're waiting for the presidential results to be released. That makes no sense. Dude, we had COVID, we had unbelievable amounts of fiscal stimulus and just money printing and record level high inflation for like 3 years now. I don't think it's people waiting on the presidential results to start going to the grocery store more often or, purchasing on Amazon more often. I think it's, wow, my lifestyle has completely changed in the past 3 years because everything's through the roof expensive wise. And to, live a solid life, you need two jobs to afford anything. I think it's more that as opposed to we're waiting to see who wins this presidential election here.
Yeah, no, that got me thinking. I heard a stat. I was thinking it was from a podcast. The average consumer household has like 37 grand of debt, credit card debt.
Dave Ramsey was on
Yeah,
Tucker.
yeah.
Drop
So I'm
that.
just curious. Like,
Yep.
so is that true? Like, I don't know. I'm just searching Google. Let's see if they'll give me
I
a
mean,
biased
we
result.
even did an episode on this of record level of credit card debt in the country and record level of people pulling from their 401ks last year.
Yeah, I gotta figure out where he pulls that because some of this stuff I don't know how recent it is. I don't necessarily see that when I'm searching for it. I see less numbers. Uh, hmm. Wonder where he got that. Let's see. What does Lending Tree have? Lending saying block. God, where's the? Give me the good. See. Yeah, I can't pull up like the actual stats of that, but that number was shocking. But I mean, I think in general we can say, credit card debt has gone up over time. Like you
No
said, we
doubt about
talked
it.
about it, the buy now, pay later scenario. It's like, yeah, this kind of facade that's going on. Like everything's fine. But it's like, well, hold on. Um, yeah, that's really interesting. And I will say the morning brew, the more I don't know, I've probably been looking at it for the last been like I look at it every day. It's kind of like my morning routine.
Same.
Maybe I've been doing that for 3 or 4 years now. And I can feel maybe, I don't know if my political bias has shifted, but maybe theirs has, or I've just gotten smarter of kind of feeling the bias out of content in general, just not the morning brew. But it's like the way they talk about certain topics, there is always kind of like this passive backhandedness, the way it's written. Do you ever get that feeling?
Without question. I feel like we've slacked about a couple of things that were like very questionable of like, how can you word it like that there? There's multiple examples that come to mind, but I think this one does that. That's the other thing it's like, dude, let's be honest with like what's going on here. Let's not try and
What did they say about Elon Musk today? They crushed their earnings report and their stock went up like 20%. I don't know if I still have it in my email.
I did see that
Uh,
though. Tesla just absolutely destroyed.
but it was the way the context of here it is. The way that they just said it was not like, they're doing a great job, etc. Da, 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 da. Sorry, I'm trying to pull it up. Okay, Trump. Was it yesterday? Or wait, no, it was in the first
It's an
headline.
early Christmas present. Now, I
Yeah,
don't know
okay,
if
yeah,
if
yeah.
they
No, it's here because you can see it. It's like, okay, Tesla was to thank for the tech-heavy index success as the EV maker reported its bigger profits over the year Wednesday, which sent stock soaring. There was a way that they told it before that it was more. I don't know. Maybe I read it wrong, but either way, we've seen sort of that kind of bias get reported through there. Um, which makes me think like I'd love to have like another morning newsletter that I can
dude,
get
I was
to.
just gonna go there.
Is there
Yeah.
is there one? I don't know. Like I haven't done the research on it. I know like All Sides is an interesting service. I don't know if they do an email contextual because I like the way that it's kind of like editorialized. It's fine. It's an easy, quick read. Um, yeah, we need some
I
more. We need some more
dude,
alternatives.
this is like a massive business opportunity here. If you're into newsletters and like content and everything, I guarantee you can get a couple million subscribers literally off branding. Hey, we are straight and narrow compared to Morning Brew. Get your news here and there's no slant to it and it's just straight facts. These are top 3, 5 stories the previous day or the morning of that you got to know about. There's no slant to it. We're just going to tell you exactly how it is. Maybe it's written by an AI bot that has no personality that just tells you facts of what it is. I guarantee you can grow a huge newsletter business just based off that type of branding.
All right, so here I did a search for morning brew alternatives. Let's see what we got. Let me share my screen real quick. Screen. We don't have to go too far down the rabbit hole, but I am curious. So there's a top 20. Reddit gets in here, which is interesting. I'd be curious if there's a new one, but it's all the. Where's one that's like top 10? Why is no one bidding on that term? If your newsletter, right? That seems kind of crazy that no one's bidding on that term, morning brew alternative, because all these are like listicles, and I don't see. Oh yeah, okay, great. Similar webs up here. That's not relevant. Um, I mean, there's the hustle, which is a little bit different.
Dude, this is actually such an interesting concept here. Like I know running a newsletter, especially a daily one, is a grind, and I can only imagine. But there's got to be something here for people who just want straight up
And
news and to know what's going on in the world, and that's it.
yeah, but if you look at this list, man, like they got Inc. this morning. These are all like branded by other companies, like TechCrunch, Entrepreneur, Health Affairs. These are not the same. What a shit article this is.
Yeah, these are not the same at all. These are just kind of like
I thought
top
this was AI
newsletters.
generated.
Well, you know what's funny is I was actually kind of going to AI. I feel like with AI, you probably can just create some type of agent that just scrapes the web and whatever, however you program that and be like, hey, pull the top 3, 5 stories and just give me a couple bullet point summary. There's no opinions. It's just a couple bullet point summary of like what happened and that's it. I'm sure there's an AI use case here.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying to find even like this thread from Reddit. There's not much here. I mean, it's under personal finance. They actually called them out. Like, literally can't stand the frat bro humor and tone. I mean, some of their humor is pretty lame. I don't know about bro
Yeah, you
tone.
kind of have to go into reading it, knowing like that's their little shtick there is like
Yeah.
the little sly comments they make in there, which I actually
So
don't mind.
Fallery, here's one. They're putting themselves in one. That's for startup founders. Like, I don't want like a startup. Like, I want like the hustle. Okay, sure, but those are all kind of tech business. Like, I want like the general news. You know, the daily upside. I don't know. Someone got a recommendation? Let me know because yeah, Axios still they're gonna have something. CB Insights, the daily pitch, the information. TLRDR. I haven't even read that one. There's got to be something out there. But I
Telling
get
you,
your
there's
point.
something here.
There's a lot. It takes a lot of power. But like, hey, if you could do an AI like crawl, like you said, and just spit it out, how hard would that be? I mean, you give it like crawl, whatever the top news stories of the previous day. You probably have to get a curated list of sites that you crawl, right? Which is fine, whatever. Take all the top ones, but then you have it kind of rewrite it in like not a biased tone. You tell it specifically not to do that, and then um you give it the format of the morning brew. Say, hey, duplicate this.
Literally,
I wonder if
just
I
that's pretty much it. Yeah,
I wonder if I took the morning brew and I copied all the text and say, can you maybe okay, here's maybe what we need to do. We keep the morning brew because they're doing all the hard work selecting the stories. We just create an app that takes the email, copies and pastes it. It's totally not going to work from a business standpoint. Throw it in ChatGPT and say, please don't make this bias and summarize it.
could be something there.
I mean, how hard would that be to take all this text and just summarize it?
I don't think very difficult there.
I could do it live right now, but I'll take a couple minutes. Anyways,
Well,
that's what I'll do for my next ChatGPT. I'll just do it, select all, and then copy it in my mobile app, and then hit paste, and I'll create a GPT. That's what I'll do. I'll create a GPT that specifically is built for copying and pasting in the morning brew to strip out the bias.
think there's something there. Think there's
Okay.
something there. The other thing that I will say on the e-commerce side though is obviously we talk a lot about like SEO and paid media here. I do think, if you are a brand that is running e-commerce right now, you probably should be thinking about some type of I don't know, how to optimize for like order value. Kind of given the fact that you might not get as many repeat purchasers as you once were, or volume might not be there. This would probably be a good time to invest in some type of like conversion rate optimization work, how you can increase, average cart size and average order value and make the most out of every order that pulls through on the e-commerce side. Because I don't know, we'll see what happens with the election here, but regardless, whatever happens, I do think it's probably going to take some time for the economy to kind of pick up a little bit on the consumer side there, and for some of this inflation to get out of the economy still. So, I don't think either way it's going to be a rocket ship one way or the other for e-commerce brands. So that would probably be a good time to think about, average order value, customer lifetime value, and how to increase cart sizes there.
Yeah, makes sense.
Cool. Well, dude, anything else on that? I did want to get your thoughts on this Rand Fishkin post.
Yeah, we'll move on.
Cool. So, um, Rand Fishkin, dude, I think we've probably shouted him out a bunch of times on the platform. But he put out a post here, and let me just screen share, and I'll just call out a couple things that I thought was pretty interesting, and then yeah, want to get your thoughts here. To be honest, it felt like we were kind of going back in time in SEO, and I'm really curious what your thoughts are here. Also, too, when you go to screen share, there's an option for presentation as opposed to a window. So
Huh.
I don't know. I might want to try that out.
Oh, there you go. Kind of pulls it up a little bit bigger.
But all right, how can a brand appear essentially in LLMs? So I'm sure, if you're in an agency right now and you're working with clients, you've probably thought about this, and I'm sure you've heard some clients ask, like, hey, how can we get AI overviews more or LLMs more? I would definitely recommend you check out this post from Rand. He put together a video, which is, really easy to follow, but just a couple calls here that I thought was interesting. And he basically states in here that like for Google, historically, the currency has been links, and that's the way they rank these results was through links, relevant content, smart keyword use, and references to your work from other sources online. And he says the way you rank in large language models is not that. The currency is not links. The currency of large language models is mentions, specifically words that appear frequently near others across the training data. Let me show you what I mean. And he essentially goes through a couple different examples, but he refers to Stephen Wolfram, who wrote a post on how ChatGPT works last year. And he quotes it basically saying, what is ChatGPT doing and why does it work? And he shows a particular graph, which Rand calls out as being pretty helpful here. And basically, the best thing about AI is the ability to learn, predict, make, understand. And there's a percentage for each one of these. The percentage, he explains, come from the training data. Essentially, if ChatGPT has seen a word, learn, appears much more frequently than a word predict in a sentence, then they're probably going to show the word learn a bit more than predict. And he basically says this is what led some people to describe LLMs as kind of like a spicy autocomplete, or words that frequently come after other words. And this is a really good way, in my opinion, to think about AI tools. So then he kind of goes through a couple different examples. But I think like the main takeaway here after reading this article and then listening to the video was essentially he makes the case that the more often your brand can get mentions across the web, no matter where they are, the higher likelihood that you have appearing in LLMs, and that the content that you're associated that brand with will impact how your brand is described in an LLM. Will Reynolds also made an interesting post on this around, I think he something around like ethically sourced jeans or something like that, and kind of tied that back to their content. So I want to get your thoughts on this, but when I watched this video and I read through this article, it almost made it seem like we're going back in time, meaning get as many backlinks as you can. So like your brand associated with whatever within that anchor text, and then just, a bunch of different blog posts, a bunch of different pieces of content, PR, all of these different things having a huge factor in you showing up in LLMs.
Yeah, so let me unpack that a little bit. So there's some things I think you might have possibly missed a little bit, because when Rand's talking about that, he's literally just talking about your brand being mentioned on a website, and you don't actually have to have a link back.
Yep.
So linking is actually theoretically not important at all, right? So just to emphasize, that's how he thinks that this works.
Brand mentions,
Brand
whether
mention,
linked or not, is
linked or
important.
not, correct.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's not necessarily going backwards, because backwards, I would say it's more the aggressive link building, and technically it still works from an SEO perspective. But how the LLMs work, I think AI overviews are a little bit different for Google, because they are using some of the what's in the current results to help pull
Yep.
up. Sometimes they aren't, but let's just say ChatGPT or Perplexity, like how that gets in. Obviously, they're crawling the web. They're trying to figure out what's here. And the general concept makes sense, right? It's logical. The more you're mentioned in these concept topics, you probably should be put up higher. What is a little bit interesting to me, though, is okay, we want to game this system to get into the LLMs. I have to go find websites and pitch them like a digital PR effort. That's what you're saying is going to do the work now? Well, that's really expensive and very difficult to do. Sure, be it part of your mix if you can afford it. But I go straight to like, well, dude, how do I game the damn system? There's no part, like you couldn't find, think about it, like the same way you kind of do link building in a shady way from back in the day. Even now, you could find websites that you could just get your brand mentioned on there. Are they authoritative? Not. So you'd want to make sure like you're on some authoritative sites and the volume. So there's some testing around that you could do, and just see if you could game the system for the LLMs by just getting your brand mentioned a bunch of times on websites, etc., and just without a link, just see if it works, and potentially move it in. That might be an easier way for a mom and pop to do it. Like or even an agency to try to do that for their own, I don't know, test projects that they have. So that was, that was one kind of concept I looked at it. I'm like, the recommendation was like, I don't know, wasn't groundbreaking to me. It was like, oh, get your name on popular websites. Like, no shit. Like, that's going to help. Sure, that's where they're pulling from. Okay, I get you, make the connection there. That's awesome. It was a good post. The other thing I thought about like years ago was because Google was so dependent on the SEO algorithm with links, I thought Google could get to a point for their ranking system where they could basically just devalue links completely and go with the brand mentions as their sole signal. Why not? And have that influence the search engine rankings rather than links, be it a link or not. Because the only reason links matter from the algorithm, from the patents, way back in the day, I'm sure there's a lot more complexity to it now, was how do I have 100 pieces of content about, I don't know, whatever these are, Yeti mug cups. How do I rank them higher? Well, who's got more links back is the easiest way, because it was built off the citation system on, writing a research paper. The more citations you have, the probably more authoritative you're on that topic. Is the same concept that they applied. So if they could remove the links because they got so dependent on it, and they still are, they say they have better filters to kick out spammy links, but that's questionable too, to a certain extent. And so I guess this long-winded rant is that I do think that they are looking at that already on the SEO side of things of brand mentions. And so LLMs that are going to pull that in, sure, of course they're going to do that. It's just going to be very difficult for a small business owner to go, pitch, or even agencies to go pitch that do the digital PR because it's really expensive to do. And it probably would work. But then even taking a step back, what's the saying, is the squeeze worth the juice worth the squeeze? I mix it back and forth there. Is right now, I mean, I guess it's chicken or the egg, right? Like, are you getting traffic from LLMs? Something you should be monitoring. I know Will Reynolds did a post about it this morning, like looking at GA data and referral traffic. And, he gets quite a bit actually, but I think it's based on the content and B2B, but I don't think for most of our clients, they're showing up in LLMs right now, or people searching for that right now. Like, people aren't adopting that quite yet. So something to monitor, of course, but yeah, I mean, it was an interesting post. He does map out, how that could potentially, I just think, how to get and how to measure that. Because he also mentioned in the post in the video, it's like, well, you get different search results every time.
Exactly.
Have a mix in there. So it's like, how do you even monitor that, placement? So, I mean, it's good to think about the future, but it's like, okay, we got to take it in bite-sized chunks.
No doubt. And I do like, to your point about Will Reynolds' post, I think he's made a couple recently, and he went somewhere recently and spoke at a conference, and he basically made the statement of like, you really need to figure out generative AI and just this whole landscape in general. But like, you probably should not go all in dependent on the client and the industry. You got to understand if people even use LLMs for your client's business, and if that is an actual touch point in their journey. If it is, sure, it makes sense. But like, I don't know, there's probably so many businesses out there where like LLMs and AI are just totally irrelevant in somebody's journey to do research. So that's something that you got to kind of take into consideration here.
Well, it's also hard to tell, like, are they using LLMs? How do you know? If you don't rank there, then you don't get the traffic, so you can't know. So are you doing your own searches for that? I mean, that's something like SparkToro should build into their program, where like they go out and they crawl for that keyword that you give, what kind of search results are people using? Like, maybe there's some sort of user behavior for LLMs that they can connect somehow.
I'm sure they're going to.
So, like, hey, this market is using LLMs quite a bit to find your, resource.
Love that. I'm sure that's coming. I guarantee that's coming. And I will say, Rand does a really good job there. Kind of like some of the carousel posts that we called out on LinkedIn of like, saying, hey, I'm going to do like this SEO strategy, and then throughout like the carousel, then it's like, oh, you have to use like my software to like execute it. Rand does a good job in there. What he goes through some of these examples and basically makes the statement of like, he uses fine dining as an example. And he's like, hey, within fine dining, you actually use SparkToro use the keyword, plug it in, and then you could see the other websites that people are talking about fine dining. So maybe that's where you want to start your PR and your outreach,
Yeah, super
because
smart.
those people are already on there. So it's kind of like a cagey way of Rand basically saying, hey, like use SparkToro, like it could really help within this, which was a really smart way of saying like use my product without literally saying like sign up for a free demo
Yeah,
here, kind of show
it
you the
definitely
value.
feels if yeah, I think with that project though, I feel like that tool he built it because that's something that he needs for when he's doing
For
his
sure.
marketing, kind of thing. So it's like
Yeah.
there wasn't one out there, so he built it. So I think that's where a lot of the application comes in.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. But I'm
Or
saying I've really liked the way in which he had like a kind of use case and basically showed how he was doing research and how like you could benefit from his tool without saying, hey, like get a free demo, like I got the best tool ever. It was more just showing how it could be incorporated into your process, which I really like there. He's
yeah,
got
even the
just great overall content.
yeah, going back to like how do you gauge that traffic that's coming in from LLMs, Complexity, ChatGPT? I mean, you can look at referrals that are in your Google
But
Analytics,
I
like
feel
someone
like that's
clicked on a link.
flawed though, don't you?
Well, they will come through if there's an actual link in the citation. Sometimes those citations or sometimes those LMs don't actually have a link to your website sometimes, and it's not like guaranteed like a hyperlink.
Yep,
So if there's a true
yep.
hyperlink on there, you will see it come up in there. I think that's the same thing with Perplexity too. So it'll come as like referral traffic, but then there's other influences of where if it's not tracked or blocked, it'll come in direct. So you kind of have to monitor that direct, but then direct gets so many other things lumped into it.
So many other, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's kind of hard to tell. What it would be nice, I mean, I guess in Google Analytics, you could set up like a default channel grouping that could pull out. I mean, you could set up a segment too that it's like all of these if statements, like, okay, if referrer has chat GPT in it or OpenAI. That's how some of the referrals come in. I saw
Yeah.
or Complexity, and you just kind of have like a list of them. You could create a segment and then just drop it in there, and then look and have it as another and you, as a like a feature that you look through and see how often it's happening. I think it's a good idea to do to monitor how much that's impacting the business. It's because I think it's just going to be different for different markets.
No doubt.
For it all. I think a lot of the non B2B search queries are not going to be as fast of adopting LLMs.
Agreed.
I think they're still going to be using the traditional search engines, Amazon, etc., to search for products. Because I mean, it sounds very similar to like where like, oh, people are going to be using social media apps to go find products. Which part of that's true? Like a lot of people, younger generations, using TikTok to search for products itself, and so it's like I don't know. There's just more ways. There's just going to be more ways that. I mean, I guess in general, in 5 years from now, I would say that less people are searching on Google or Bing for your products or service because they're going to have alternatives like LLMs, social media channels, um, etc. So you just got to be prepared for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see how that I know we'll see how that plays out, and I'm sure there's going to be better data eventually here. And some of these platforms you're going to be able to see, ads or search queries or whatever, and there's going to be more that comes out, but I don't know. I thought it was interesting just to see, and it kind of made me feel it kind of highlighted one, I feel like it really impacts small business owners if that's going to be a huge ranking factor because naturally you're just not going to get nearly as many mentions as a larger brand. But it did kind of highlight how, difficult and sophisticated search rankings are and really how wild a business that Google has built over the years here. I know they got a ton of shit and we've definitely given it to them about some of like, the search results as of late and maybe them not being as high quality or, too many ads or like whatever you want to put in there. But it is wild to think about how you need to scrape everything across the web for accurate search results there and all the little nuances that go in there of like, should we weight links a little bit more? Should we not? Should we do it based off brand mentions and all the different factors? That is such a difficult problem or such a difficult
Yeah,
thing
and
to
here's another
to
bigger
solve.
problem that's going to happen too. If the LLMs start feeding off like the web content that's out there, a lot of that web content is going to be AI generated, no matter how big of a website it is. Like, how genuinely did you go to that restaurant or did you use that service and you're actually doing a real review and there's multiple people listed on there? That unique content that's generated, dude, that's going away. Like, I'm sorry, like real editorial content online, it's going to be hard to find and do.
I can
And it's not
imagine.
going to be wrapped around with a bunch of ads, for that. So that's something too. Even if LMs do go after it and they start reading it, um, where are they picking it up from? How much quality is it actually? And that's where I think it's going to be gamed. It's kind of the snake eating the snake, like I've said before,
Yeah,
where the LMs start ingesting their own LM content, and then you get into a weird spot. But I
I'm
will say,
curious.
like,
Yeah,
the adoption though, like, I mean, that's the thing too. Like, I know, like, yeah, we got to watch the adoption, but it's like, I just don't think there's been a pivotal moment yet for like the normal person to really get on board of using LLMs or ChatGPT. Um, I think there's got to be some sort of moment that happens, be it Apple's, which I feel like people are like, these brands are like slow rolling this. I'm really shocked they haven't gone faster. Like Apple's AI for Siri. Why is it only on the new phones? Get it? You're trying to sell more phones, but that could be a software update tomorrow.
but I
And we
heard it
all have,
sucks though.
okay, it sucks. They got to improve it, right? But let's just say like you could have ChatGPT on your phone forever and it pushes it to everybody. That would be game changing of like, oh my God,
Yeah, for sure,
this is different.
for
Like,
sure.
this is like what my Siri is way different. I'm going to start changing my behavior on how I search online, etc. That's going to be like that pivotal, linchpin moment that just goes off. The other one that I think is missing, and they've talked about it, and I have no idea why they have not done it yet, is Amazon's product,
The
Alexa.
Alexa.
Why the hell have they not pushed out something smarter to Alexa? That's I would assume, an overnight software update that just gets pushed out. And when all of a sudden people that are using Alexa, like we use Alexa all the time at my house, my kids use it all the time at my house. We ask it all sorts of stupid questions. And a lot of times it's stupid answers, but we kind of expect it. And it's like, the moment that changes inside the house, it's going to change the behavior of the expectation of what comes back. Because nobody thinks Siri is good. Nobody thinks Alexa is good. What's the other one? Google. Why doesn't Google put it on their product? The moment that happens, that's going to change the way people search online.
I'm sure that's coming.
So wait
Yeah,
for that to happen and then see how the adoption changes, because that's going to
yeah.
be super radical and fast. And it's something that people aren't asking for, and it's got to get pushed. Because if it's not pushed, I don't think it's going to adapt. I mean, obviously it's super logical, right? If it's not pushed and they're just kind of getting pulled in, doing it themselves, adoption rates will be slower. But I really don't know how much people are just going to jump on the bandwagon, like your mom, your dad, your aunts, your uncles, jumping into hey, I got ChatGPT or Perplexity. Like, it's still like that party trick. So until it's in the house in a normal use case and people like open up their mind, they're like, holy shit, this is really cool. Google's kind of doing that with the AI overviews. They're forcing it. So that's going to help the adoption move faster, but it's to their product, which is a smart idea. So I don't know. I'm just waiting for that moment to happen. And when it does, I think it's going to go really quick if that goes that direction.
Yeah, I think I think that's probably going to happen in the next year or so. I would assume. I forget what Google's product is, if it was like Google Home or Nest or like whatever theirs is, and Amazon Alexa and Siri. It makes total sense. Like the voice commands there for like you could easily see a scenario where like Amazon, you're talking to Alexa, what's the top product for like whatever. All right, cool. Go and like buy me it and send it to me now because you have my Amazon account already hooked up and everything. Like, could totally see that being a really good kind of killer use case there for AI. But I totally agree. I think like your normal, grandma, grandpa, mom, dad type deal, there's really no added benefit of using ChatGPT to search for things compared to Google. Like,
Yeah, I'm
it's
looking at
not
a
that
couple
much
stories
different.
on like or on Amazon's, and they say Washington Post said that Amazon first announced Alexa with a major AI overhaul in September of 2023. That hasn't happened, and so They're now saying that Amazon's new, and this is The Verge, will be using Claude, which I don't really care. Like, but when is it going to launch? Release in October of this year? When is it?
Well, we're in October.
Let me see. What was this post from? Let's see. They're okay. So Amazon developing a new version. Hopes to see use. Yeah. So they're going to charge money for it, which is stupid. Like, don't charge the money. People will buy more products if it has it in their built. It's the craziest thing. I just don't get it, dude. And you're going to get so much think about how much data you're going to get from Amazon and your customer base and the conversations people are going to have even more with your device. You don't need to pay for it. Like, we don't need to have a subscription service to do it. Like, don't be greedy. Be greedy about getting the data and then use that data in your marketing. Like, come on.
Yeah, but I feel like they probably just are spending so much money on chips in the infrastructure.
They got enough money, Trevor. They have enough
I
money.
think that's probably what it is.
And they'll have enough money that's going to come back from all of our consumer data that's going to be loaded up onto their machines even more. Like, think about it. Amazon already maps our house out because they have whatever the contract with iRobot or whatever it is, vacuums, right? They're going to have all of our chat queries, all that. Yeah. Like, we're already tracked and connected. There's even the talks about Wi-Fi patterns too that can track through walls, which is true. Why do you think we have Wi-Fi? And you can bounce off the signals and you can map out a room. It's a totally true thing. That's just
I haven't heard that one yet. I need to go down that rabbit hole.
Oh no, dude, that's not even that crazy of a rabbit hole, but there is like software, even like Defense Department contract area, where like they use Wi-Fi signals because it's super fast. They penetrate walls, and they can map a whole room out with a couple different triangulations of the Wi-Fi. They can map who's in there, what the movement, and everything.
Interesting.
It bounces off.
Okay.
So it can map a whole 3D room from the outside, from just like a military application for it all. But you put that into the consumer world of things. I've got a couple Google Wi-Fi routers in my house. They could probably triangulate enough to see the
no doubt
movements in the house.
Yeah.
If they pull that, in for it all. Where you get to the conspiracy theory is on the whole Wi-Fi thing is lead and paint, and why they removed it was so this could happen. That's the conspiracy theory.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because lead obviously creates, I guess theoretically in this theory, a barrier for that.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll let you go down that rabbit hole.
I definitely will. But yeah, I definitely agree. I think there needs to be some type of like use case, and I feel like probably these chat devices here, Siri and Amazon Alexa, probably makes the most sense. But I'm sure there's other stuff that we have no idea what's even going to happen.
Going to charge $5 to $10 a month for its new remarkable version of Alexa, which will use a powerful AI answer to complete queries, while still offering the classic voice assistant for free. That was reported in June, though. Like, we don't have an update. Come on.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. I know we're coming up on time here, but talking about like, devices and the future of stuff. Have you seen? I feel like I've been just getting absolutely blown up by these Meta Quest YouTube commercials, and it's just relentless. Well, I think you have like premium YouTube, you were telling me, because you guys are a big YouTube family. But
we just did it this month for political ads. Yeah, I can see that.
Nice.
Yeah, that was my whole reason of doing them. Like, dude, I'm done watching political ads on my YouTube content.
So awkward.
And even like for my kids, they're on my same YouTube account, so I can see what they're watching. It's like, I don't want you guys to have a bunch of political ads and stuff because they're terrifying in some of them. But yeah, I mean, the Meta Quest, dude, you got dropped into some sort of pixel around it. They're pushing hard. I mean, I heard even on the new technology that was the Apple's machine, they're not going to produce as many.
They're not. They might end production.
Yeah, they said it was like a first generation, machine. They're going to try to produce something that's a little bit cheaper down the road. Which, hey, I get it. And like, because the Meta Quest, I think, are only like $500, and they're cool. Like, I've got one that's, I think it's not the 3, but the 2. I don't use it all that often. It's been a long time actually, but it's just an alternative. $500 versus a couple grand for that. That's an adoption thing.
The Meta Ray-Ban, apparently, like those are like Ray-Ban's high-selling product in like Africa, Europe, and somewhere else I saw. And
so weird
apparently
to me.
they do really well. I could kind of see that where like you're wearing glasses and then there's like a ability to maybe like, I don't know, whatever, pop up something, get some more context or whatever. I could see that. But the Meta Quest, I don't see it. Like they have a couple different ads of different scenarios, and the one is like a guy who it looks like his wife bought something offline, and he then puts the glasses on and it like shows him like how to like put everything together. And then there's another, so I'm like, okay, I could kind of see that use case. And then there's
What?
a yeah, and then there's another one
Like
where
IKEA
somebody,
furniture, you're gonna go put it together with the Meta Quest on your head?
yeah, I'm like, I could kind of see that, but like probably not. The other one was somebody sitting at like a DMV and then they like put MetaQuest goggles on and then like they have like this big like picture screen watching a movie. And I'm like, uh, uh, no. I would never go somewhere in public and like, oh, let me put on my like ski goggles and let me just sit here and watch a movie. Like, dude, that's not. I just, dude, I feel like an old guy saying that, but I was
Skeeves you
just
out.
so grossed out looking at that. Like, well, why don't you just, I don't know, do what you got to do? Maybe like chat with somebody and have like a human interaction. Like, I don't think you need to be in a metaverse 24/7 of your life and just constantly entertained just watching content. I was just, those videos and those ads are just like, yeah, what you're showing right now is actually not the future I want to live in.
I don't know. Maybe there'll be something like down the road where they're like, well, you know how like the studies showing about social media use is bad for you, right? We all know that now is a common thing. Maybe they're going to find some study down the road that the VR experiences are actually bad for you.
I would be really surprised to hear that. Like, dude, obviously that's what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't think humans were built to have a movie theater on their head all the time. I think you kind of need to do some real life stuff every once in a while. And it's not
Yeah.
all about entertainment.
Yeah, right. No, it's a mental health type of situation. Yeah, it's a pushback because I was a huge gamer. Maybe I'm like old and decrepit and I can't really do anything anymore. Like jumping into the metaverse, I'm in. Why not? Like, but I'm gonna wait as long as I can to do that. But I know
For
it's an
sure.
option. So maybe it's
Yeah,
more of
like
a conversation of like when I'm like getting close to death. Maybe I'll just upload my conscious and then I'll just be in a completely digital world. Why not?
could be.
We go down that route.
But I don't know. I think that makes sense to be like, you're a little bit older and you're not getting around. Maybe that could be a good use case. Or like, I don't know, like whatever. Maybe some direction gaming. I think that's cool.
Figured
But
it out, Trevor. We're
in
we're in our organic life, our first stage organic life. The second life is synthetic life. That's how it's going to be.
That's Rogan's whole hypothesis here is we're about to give birth to like another form of life
But I'm just
via
saying it's going to be
technology and
completely
AI.
natural that you're going to have two stages of life of like an organic life and then a synthetic life. You'll be like, yeah, my organic life, I did this, this, and this, you know, when you're in your synthetic world.
I
That's
don't
not
like that.
far.
It
But you're going to treasure your organic life that much more because you're able to do these different things.
could be. All right, I think that's a good place to end it there. I do got to run here.
Sorry, rabbit hole.
I think that's a good way to end it here. But yeah, no, I think overall this was a good one. I think we covered some good ground here.
Yeah, no, it was a fun one.
Cool. Well, let us know what you think here, and yeah, we'll obviously like keep monitoring this whole LLM situation and how things progress there. But yeah, check out Rand's post. Let us know what you think there. I thought that was a good one overall.
Yes, and we'll look at buying behavior after the election. So
Yes.
we'll go from there.
Yeah. Thursdays, Eastern Standard, 1 o'clock, this episode drops. So if you haven't already, get your alerts set up there for the pod drops.
Yes. Like and subscribe, smash that button, right? That's what those kids say.
That's what those kids say. We'll end it there. Later, y'all.